$10,000 a month is the goal that almost everyone has when they start out, right? It's the six-figure mark. It's the moment when you make more than almost anyone that you know, if you don't know anyone that makes a great deal of money. And it definitely means that you make more than your friends and, more than most people in your family and anyone your age, really. But I think a lot of people, especially more and more today, are feeling that this is actually a given. This is something that happens whether you, really take your business seriously or not, whether you start your SMMA, whether you do 100 outreaches or whether you do 10 outreaches a day, right? This video really is just about setting the expectations of what it took me to get to that point and what it took almost everyone that I know to get to that point. I think that it's really good to have an actual clear understanding of how this thing's going to work, and before you actually get started, or if you're just starting out, understanding what is actually required in order to get to that point. Because if you come in with some misaligned expectations, maybe you think it's going to be easier than it's going to be, at some point you're almost going to be shocked at how much effort you're putting in and how much little results you're getting out, because this is ultimately what has to happen for several weeks, several months in order for you to get to that 10k a month. So first of all, if you don't know who I am, my name is Ben Lister. I help agency owners to sign more clients, make more money, and do their outreach actually for them. The first thing that I want to talk about specifically in this is that when I started my agency, I've already had 2 years of experience working in a corporate agency, right? In a corporate environment where I worked and I learned the agency model. This gave me a solid understanding of how the business model worked. It gave me a solid understanding of how to sell things and how the sales system actually works inside of an agency. It also meant that I really understood what clients are looking for and how to retain clients, and the difference between clients that stayed on for a long time and clients that built up a strong partnership and clients that didn't. And this was really important for me to have a clear understanding of that business model when going into things. And so my role specifically was working primarily on the supplier side. I helped with the service delivery for the clients, and I was able to build really good relationships with suppliers that we had. I was able to really nail down the service that we had, and I was basically in charge of a lot of the service for a lot of the clients that we had. This gave me a really solid foundation when it came into the agency, when I built my own agency. If I hadn't have had this, for example, if I have just come out of university or I'm still at high school and I started an agency like that, comparing the knowledge that I had when I left that job and, when I started my own agency, comparing to when I was, 16, 18 or even 20 years old is night and day. It's drastic. And the reason for that is you just learn so much by being inside of a business like that. You learn how the sales team works. You learn how people get paid and what the expectations are, and just so much small things about nothing could ever replicate that. You can't really read that in a book. You can't really ever go out and experience that and learn that without actually being in that position. Someone can tell you this is the case, but you don't really understand why that's happening or how that really works until you've done it yourself. And so if you are a person who's got no sales skills right now, you've never worked in that kind of environment, you haven't worked in a service-based business at least, I think you're at a bit of a disadvantage, and you're at least going to take a couple of years to really fully understand those skills unless you are 100% dedicated to this. If you dedicate your life to selling better and to sales, then you're going to be able to pick up sales pretty quickly, right? But if you're just coming in here sort of outsourcing everything, not really focusing too much on these areas of business, focusing on your sales skills, focusing on how good you are at service delivery, focusing on how good you are at managing client relations and dealing with people, I think that the skill gap compared to an agency that does know this and an agency owner who does know how to do these things and has done this in the past and someone that hasn't is going to be quite drastic. And so if you don't have these skills coming into things, it's going to take you a long time to actually build those up and to get you into positions and to get you into a position where this actually makes sense for clients to sign with you. Like, you have a service, you have a skills for someone to pay you, high ticket sums to actually get your service and get your skills. And I've taken a lot of sales calls in the past with agency owners who are just starting out, or they've recently started in the last few weeks, the last few months. They have very, very big goals, and they have a time frame on their goals as well. So they want to hit $10,000 a month. That's the first big goal that almost everyone talks about. And they want to do this in 2 months, 3 months. They want to do this in, they could do this by the end of the year. We only have 6 weeks till the end of the year or something like that. And it is possible. I've seen it done before, and it is very possible, but it's only possible in the right sort of circumstances, right? I think never having sold anything before, whether it's, a service or a product or anything like that, and then going and selling yourself, basically, your service, because obviously if you're just starting an SMA, you basically are a one-person business. It's very, very difficult, especially when we're talking about high ticket, right? A lot of business owners that you might speak to, whether this is in the home improvement space, whether this is gyms, whether this is solar businesses, anything like that, you'll often be talking directly to the business owner, people that have, one or two business partners and maybe one or two employees, they make less than $1 million a year. For them to then give out $1,500, $2,000, $2,500 every single month to you, when it's almost very obvious that you are a beginner, that you're pretty young, you haven't been doing this for years and years and years. It's a big task. It really is a big task. And this is something that I struggled with a lot when I was starting out. I had business owners that would reject, super low setup fees, and it really took its toll. And it took me a lot to actually get to the point where I had a service that I was confident in and I could actually sell myself, and I had the sales skills to actually go and sell, much higher ticket retainers after that point. I actually watched a video recently, a YouTube video, where someone was talking about they scaled to 100K a month in just a few months. It was like 90 days or something like that. That's crazy. I wonder how they did this. This is, probably the record, like the fastest time that anyone's done it in this space. And then I clicked on it and watched it, and basically this was like the fourth agency they'd ran. They've been in this space for 3 years. They have really good mentors. They're very good at sales. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they put the systems in place way before they started selling. So in actual fact, it did take them a little bit longer. They did do it pretty quickly, obviously, but they were really experienced. They weren't complete beginners. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they had a plan from start to finish, and they'd sold thousands and thousands of dollars worth of services in the past before. So it was almost like it was a bit of a given. That was kind of the plan from the very start. Doing that yourself, or even just scaling to that, 10K, 20K, the multi-six-figure mark, I think if you don't have the skills, you're going to be in for a little bit of a shock. And that's okay, right? Because you can actually learn these skills, you can actually improve and get better. Eventually, you will get there, right? If you put enough time in and you put enough effort in, you will get there. But if you have the idea that this is going to take you 3 months, for example, and in reality it takes you 12, if you know that going in, if you know, for example, that this is going to be pretty ugly and it's going to get very difficult, and there's going to be weeks where you are doubting yourself, you're doubting your service, you're wondering if this is ever going to make sense, you're thinking, should I go get a job, should I do something else, all my friends are doing this and I'm doing this, making absolutely $0, you're going to have those weeks, right? But if you can stick with that, if you know that that's coming, you could almost plan for it, right? If you come in with the mindset that I'm going to get $10,000 a month no matter how long it takes me, if it takes me 5 years, I will do it, you're much more likely to get to that point if you have that attitude than if you say, this is going to take me 6 months, okay, and if I'm not at $10,000 in 6 months, then I'm going to consider this a failure, or that's the goal that I have, right? So I'm going to class this as not hitting my goal. But then when that comes around, 6 months time comes around, if you haven't hit that, the toll that will take on your willpower, the toll that will take on your motivation, your discipline, I think would be quite a lot, because at that point you would almost subconsciously be considering yourself as a failure, as someone who hasn't actually achieved the goals that they want to. And so at that point you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. Whereas if someone came in with this and they said, in 6 months time, I don't really care where I am. I just know that I'm going to keep going no matter how much I have. I want to get to $10,000 no matter how much it takes. I'm basically just going to invest everything that I have back into the business to learn skills and to learn, how to do this thing better and to start to scale at that point. And I'm going to invest back into my team and into my softwares and into everything else, right? If you have that attitude, I feel like you're much, much more likely to get to that $10,000 a month, rather than someone coming in and saying, hey, I've got 3 months to do this. If it's not done in 3 months, then this is going to be a failure, right? Whether they're saying that or not, that's obviously what they think, if that's a goal that they have. And I recently hired about 5 or 6 people to do some cold calls for me. And the reason that I've hired that many is simply because everyone is dropping out. This is a trend that I see across the wider world. Obviously, people are weaker nowadays. That's almost a given. I think you can see that when it comes to a whole bunch of different things. 100 years ago, people were dying in wars and being sent out to almost certain death when they were, 18, 19 years old. And it was just a given, right? Nowadays, people don't want to put the effort in. They don't want to take the risks and stuff like that. But even in this online space where you think that people are a little bit more resilient, they have a little bit more about them, they want to be entrepreneurs, they want to build businesses that scale to 7 figures and take on the amount of stress that comes with that, right? And they are going to be tough people. Even these people that want to get into the appointment setting space, they want to get in sales where, people are going to shout at you, people are going to be horrible, it's going to be nasty, and you're going to have to really wade through that in order to get to what you want. I still hired, I think it was 6 people, and only one of them actually lasted longer than a couple of days. And it's not because, weren't good enough, it's not because they didn't have the skills, it's simply because they dialed a few times, they didn't have any success, and then they gave up. And obviously cold calling is like the rough end of the business, but that is kind of where you have to start. If you have no experience, if you have no skills, if you've never done this before, you have no proof of concept that you can book appointments and that you can provide to the marketing and the sales team, then that's where you're going to start, and eventually you're going to work your way up, right? Because if you are looking for an appointment setter position, if you're looking to be a sales rep in an SMMA, in an online business, you're not just going to get thrown straight in at the deep end, and you're not just going to be given the best possible role, you're obviously going to start from the bottom and work your way up. And obviously, if I was hiring a salesperson, for example, I would hire internally. I would hire someone that I already know that works in the business, that knows how the business operates, or someone with an awful lot of skills that's worked in a previous business or a similar business to what we have, and then I can actually, bring them in at that point. I think there is a bit of a general consensus now, or there is a bit of a feeling inside of the online space, in the SMMA space, is that if you are an appointment setter, for example, you're just going to be able to walk into a business and to take on inbound leads and to take on the best kind of leads and stuff. And this really rolls over into agency owners. And of course, this is not every single agency owner out there, right? This is just a bit of a generalization. Maybe it comes from the fact that people sort of sell this idea that, this is super easy, you can do this overnight if you want to. And maybe that comes from like the core sellers and, the people that do appointment setting agencies where they train appointment setters and they bring people in to pay. I don't know how much they pay, but they pay to be like a certified appointment setter or something like that. Maybe it comes from that. But yeah, it's just something that I've noticed a lot, and I just think it's time for me to really make a point of it, because I think this is obviously, if you come into this business with the understanding this is going to take time, then you're much more likely to succeed, I think. And that's kind of the feeling that I had. A lot of the mentors that I have really tried to drill that into me, and I only really understood what they meant after I'd had some terrible days where I'm thinking this isn't going to work, and you have this serious doubt. But if you're actually prepared for that, if you understand that it's coming, then you're much more likely to face it head on and actually conquer that. By the way, if you are looking for someone to book appointments for you, someone to do your outreach for you, book appointments straight into your calendar, go ahead and click the first link in the description. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to sign up your email or your phone number or anything like that. It's just a video of me explaining what we do, how it works, and the results that we've had in the past. But yeah, if you did like this video, go ahead and click the like button, comment below if you want me to cover anything specifically, because I'm ready to do lots of different topics here and cover lots of different things. But yeah, if you did enjoy the video, obviously, and you want to see more, then subscribe as well. Appreciate you watching this one to the end. Take care. Cheers.